Lightning split the sky above Dry Creek, and in its flash, a lone rider appeared on the ridge, silhouetted against thunder, holding something that glinted silver in his hand. Marshal Thomas Garrett's body hadn't been in the ground 3 days when his younger brother arrived. Cole Garrett rode down Main Street at dusk, dust devils spinning in his wake, his brother's badge pinned crooked over his heart. Folks lined the weathered boardwalks, whispering behind calloused hands. They'd heard what happened, how Thomas took a bullet meant for the banker's daughter, how he'd died on these very planks with his gun still holstered. They'd also heard about Cole. Sarah Garrett stood on the marshal's office porch, black dress rippling in the wind. Her widow's veil couldn't hide eyes that burned like forge coals. When Cole dismounted, the brother's resemblance hit her like a gut punch. Same broad shoulders, same stubborn jaw. But where Thomas had walked with righteousness, Cole moved like a man trying to outrun his own shadow. "You got no right wearing that badge," she said, voice steady as iron. "Not after what you did." Cole's hand drifted to the tarnished star, fingers tracing its edges. "Reckon I don't. But Tom asked me to finish what he started." He pulled a letter from his coat, paper worn thin from reading. His last words. Sarah's composure cracked. She snatched the letter, recognized her husband's hand immediately. "Brother, the Maddox gang's coming. I forgive you for Abilene. Come home. Protect what I couldn't." "Maddox killed him because of you," Sarah whispered, "because you stole from their train 5 years back. And Tom took the blame to keep you from hanging." "I know it." Cole's voice carried gravel and regret. "Been running from that truth ever since. But I'm done running, Sarah. I'm here to end this." Thunder rolled across the plains. In the distance, storm clouds gathered like an army on the march. Inside the office, maps covered every surface, Tom's careful notations tracking the Maddox gang's movements. 6 men, led by Jacob Maddox himself, a killer who wore scalps on his belt and mercy on no man's account. They'd been terrorizing the territory for months, and Tom had figured their pattern. One more score, then they'd vanish into Mexico. That score was Dry Creek's bank, day after tomorrow. "You plan to face 6 guns alone?" Old Deputy Clark wheezed from the corner, age and doubt heavy in his voice. "Won't be alone." Cole studied the maps with a tactician's eye. 4 years riding with irregular cavalry during the war had taught him to read terrain like scripture. "They'll come in from the east at dawn, use the sun at their backs. We'll be waiting in the bell tower, the livery, here behind the trough." His finger traced ambush points. "And I'll be standing in the street." "That's suicide," Sarah said flatly. "Maybe." Cole met her gaze, and for a moment, she saw the boy who'd once been her friend, before choices and consequences carved them into strangers. But Tom believed in second chances, died believing in 'em. Figure the least I can do is prove him right. Sarah looked at the badge on Cole's chest, dented where a bullet had struck it years ago, saved by Tom's quick hand. She thought of her husband's final moments. How he'd whispered her name, how he'd made Clark promise to send for Cole. "You leave town after," she said, jaw set firm. "Badge goes back to the territory marshal. You disappear and you never speak my husband's name again." Cole nodded slowly. "Yes, ma'am." "And you don't die." Her voice broke just slightly. "Thomas would have hated that, losing both of you." Outside, the storm finally broke. Rain hammered the roof like bullets, and somewhere in the darkness, 6 riders pointed their horses toward Dry Creek, death trailing in their wake. Dawn came pale and cold, the storm's ghost still hanging in puddles that reflected a gunmetal sky. Cole stood in the center of Main Street, Tom's badge catching the first light. He'd cleaned it until it shone, an offering, a prayer, a promise kept. The Henry rifle felt heavy in his hands. Every ounce weighted with purpose. Around him, Dry Creek held its breath. In the bell tower, Sarah clutched Tom's old Sharps rifle, hands steadier than her heart. Clark and 3 ranch hands occupied windows and corners, rifles loaded, prayers whispered. They came at sunup, just as Tom's maps predicted, 6 shadows coalescing into men, into violence, into the reckoning Cole had spent 5 years postponing. Jacob Maddox rode at the center, gray-bearded and dead-eyed, his reputation preceding him like the smell of sulfur. When he saw Cole standing alone, he smiled without warmth. "Well now," Maddox called out, reining up 50 yards out. "Marshal Garrett rises from the grave. Heard we killed you, lawman." "You killed my brother," Cole's voice carried clear and cold. "I'm just the one settling his accounts." "Your brother?" Maddox's laugh was like stones grinding. "So you're the thief. The coward Thomas died protecting." He spat tobacco juice into the dust. "How's it feel, boy, wearing a dead man's honor?" Cole's finger moved to the trigger. "Feels like the last thing you'll ever see." Time stretched thin as spider silk. Then, movement. A Maddox rider went for his pistol, and the street exploded into thunder. Cole's first shot took the rider from his saddle. His second caught another in the shoulder, spinning him backward. From the tower, Sarah's sharps roared, methodical, precise, the way Thomas had taught her. Clark's rifle barked from the livery, the air filled with cordite and chaos. But Maddox was fast, faster than reputation suggested. His Colt cleared leather, smooth as water, and Cole felt the bullet kiss past his ear, close enough to whisper. He rolled left, levered another round, fired through the dust cloud. A rider screamed, dropped. 3 left. Maddox charged straight at him, firing as he came, each shot a promise of oblivion. Cole stood his ground. This was Tom's street, Tom's town, Tom's life scattered in the dirt, and by God, Cole would not give another inch. He fired, missed, fired again. Maddox's horse stumbled, went down hard, throwing its rider. The gang leader rose like a specter, both guns drawn now, murder in his eyes. "You die here, boy," Maddox roared. "Already did," Cole whispered. "In Abilene, when I chose wrong." Their guns spoke simultaneously. 2 cracks that became one. Cole felt the impact, hot and bright, spinning him sideways. But his bullet flew true, guided by something beyond skill. Maybe Tom's hand, maybe grace, maybe just the weight of debts finally paid. Maddox staggered, looked down at the red bloom spreading across his chest, then toppled backward into the dust. The remaining 2 riders, seeing their leader fallen, spurred their horses and fled east, abandoning whatever loyalty they'd claimed. Cole dropped to one knee, hand pressed to his side where blood seeped between his fingers. The badge on his chest had a new dent, right where Tom's heart would have been. Sarah was there suddenly, tearing her petticoat for bandages, hands working with desperate efficiency. "You damn fool," she sobbed. "You stupid, brave damn fool." "Got the job done," Cole managed, grinning through pain. "Tom's town safe." "Was worth dying for?" Cole looked up at her, at the sky beyond, clearing now to impossible blue. "Worth trying to live right again." He unpinned the badge with shaking fingers, pressed it into her palm. "This goes back where it belongs. And I reckon I'll take that second chance after all." The bullet had missed anything vital. Cole Garrett would live to see another sunrise. But he'd shed something heavier than blood in that street. 5 years of running, of shame, of the man he'd been versus the man his brother believed he could become. A week later, Cole rode out of Dry Creek in the early morning mist. Sarah stood on the Marshal's office porch, Tom's badge now in a shadow box on the wall inside, polished, honored, at rest. "Where will you go?" she called. Cole turned in his saddle, and his smile carried something new. Not quite peace, but its possibility. "Somewhere I can start clean. Build something instead of tear it down." He touched his hat brim. "Ma'am." "Cole." Sarah's voice stopped him. "Thomas was right about you, in the end." He nodded once, throat tight, then rode north into the breaking light. Behind him, Dry Creek stirred to life. Church bells ringing, children laughing, the sound of a town that would remember two brothers. One who died to protect it, one who lived to prove that redemption wasn't just a Sunday sermon, but a road walked one hard mile at a time. The badge remained on the wall, catching morning sun through the window, a star of silver and sacrifice, worn by men who understood that sometimes the heaviest thing you carry isn't on your chest, but in your heart. And somewhere on the northern plains, Cole Garrett rode toward whatever came next, his brother's forgiveness riding easy in his soul.